Hi guys, and welcome to the studio again, where we really get the top flight, top echelon people in diverse business industries. What I love about you, Lisa, is you're such a great soul. You know, you're such a great spirit and all that. Super professional, but you do get shit done, right? You know, for a female. You know, I like that. My pet hate is talking about talking and meetings about meetings, all right, which is soul destroying and doesn't come to anything, all right? Too many people are lost in this minutiae. So please tell people who you are, what you're CEO of, and what you really do for people out there and boards and companies and stakeholders and all of this stuff.
So my name's Lisa Holmes. I am the owner of Sandon Solutions, which I set up in 2022, and that is on the back of something like 30 years of experience with cleaning industry and the facilities management, and that's gone through some significant changes over the years. And I've watched people, and I've been involved in integrations on both sides. We've gone through significant changes. We've brought on massive clients, and at one point we doubled our turnover, which is fantastic, but if you don't get the back of house stuff sorted out, your front of house falls apart. And so for me now, I find myself in running this business, and I work with the clients that I want to work with, and I just want to make things easy and efficient and essentially profitable. That's the bit that comes out. I'm honest, I'm direct. I worked for a Dutch company for 14 years. They are very direct. And there's an argument that says I'm perhaps more Dutch now than my Dutch MD was. On occasions, I've been accused of that, whatever. But I get stuff done. You know, I'll tell you if I can't do it. I'll tell you if I'm running into problems. Other than that, you won't hear from me because I'll just do it. And then I give it to you fait accompli, and then I back out and I'm happy and I'm done.
I love it. You know, we love the Dutch too. I've done a lot of work with the Dutch. I have some clients over there in the Netherlands, right? And they're straight to the point, the Dutch, is what I like. No messing around, straight down the line.
You're never confused.
Yes is no, no is no. You know, I love that. A little bit different to, you know, our brothers over in India, of course, who I love too. But everything to them is yes. Can we have that? Yes. Can we have that? Yes. Of course, the yes is not always yes. So clarity, you know, is really good. Love our brothers over there in India too. But it's just interesting about the cultural, the different, you know, the different part. You have to deal with a lot of different boards and stuff like that, stakeholder management and all that. Tell us a bit about your expertise in that.
So I have a love of people and a fascination, which is what led me to do the degree in psychology. So whilst I love the directness, that works very well for Lisa Holmes because you get straight to the point, and I am famous for cutting meetings short by some significant drift. But that's me, and I don't think that's ever going to really change. But you go into some environments and you think, okay, I can't be Lisa in this environment, or they're going to take a little while to warm up to my way of thinking just to get things done. Because particularly, for example, charities, they work a different way. And they are much slower, much broader. You know, you've got a team of 15 or 20 instead of 3 or 4. So you've got to accommodate all of those. But inevitably, my anger or my push and drive is just to get things done as quickly as possible. And that doesn't mean to cut corners, but change doesn't need to be as dramatic as some people would like to believe it is. And I know that people don't like change, and I get that, but the world is forever changing. It changes the minute you wake up. So the better option is to be a part of that and to make sure that your business is adept, agile and ready for tomorrow. And I think so that's my challenge.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, and you're actually a South London girl, right, from Dulwich, right? It's another.
I was only there for 6 weeks, though. I don't really remember it.
You kind of come from there. I mean, but yeah, you know. So the heritage, right? You know, you've got the heritage and you know and stuff there, and the family and all that from there. But you know, what has taken, you know, someone from such humble beginnings, you know, to what you do now at C-suite level, you know, advising boards and all that and all the rest of it of, you know, massive companies and really helping them and to, you know, unpack and unpack and package again, you know, and project manage what is really the meat and the sandwich for a lot of these guys, right? Because it needs to be managed, right? So it's an important part of it. So
the feedback I've had has always been the same thing. You're honest and direct. What you see is what you get. There's no hidden agenda. I can't be doing with that. I haven't got the time for it. I do get stuff done. I build and work with integrity, and I think people just respond to that. That's just human nature, because you then are allowed into, if you like, an inner circle, and they say, all right, well, let's just give this one to Lisa to deal with and see what happens. And that's what I've found. But I think in terms of the humble beginnings, everybody has opportunities in life. It's whether or not you take them. Sometimes they come to you, sometimes you've got to go fighting for them. And it wasn't always so easy in the 80s and 90s to build your way up, for all number of reasons, because it wasn't. But you find yourself now in a situation where you're given the autonomy to go and find yourself, or go and be yourself and prove what you can deliver. And I was lucky. I was given that opportunity by the Dutch company. And that's what I did. I took it. Simple as that. And that's where I am, probably largely why I am where I am.
Yeah, so here's another interesting one that's just come up there. And I know people out there would be interested in this and want to window into it. Let's talk about the boardroom, right? Now, look, I've put together many boards. I've been a part of others, I'm on others and all of this kind of stuff. It's not what people think. I mean, there's been times like the things are dying and I've really stood up and I've really gone at people, for instance, because stuff is dying, right? And it's not meant to be dying. It's meant to be, for instance, right? And it's a strange one, but you really learn, and you sell that river as well. But one of the things, of course, is to pick the people really, really well. And really, people, it's like business. What I've learned in business, or even, general life, the main thing is that people can get out of their own way, right? Because people can be the problem. So tell us about the boardroom. I know you've been an advisor and really key in a lot of important boards. Tell me what your cut is on that. What is really good and helpful to a successful board, and what can be detrimental to another?
For me, what is good is when you've got honesty and openness, but then that is very much my way. I'm not interested in people that are creating deviant stories and reasons why things don't happen. What I've found is that when that openness is there and that honesty is there, things are far more efficient. I don't really take prisoners. I don't know whether that's good, bad or indifferent, but I don't. So I would rather people are honest with me, and then we can move on and achieve what we want to do. And as a board, that's really, it's key. You've got to be a cohesive thing. Your CEO sets the agenda, or should set the agenda, and creates the culture. And it starts and ends with that senior team. Everything you do and say is part of the culture of the business. And people tend to think that if you're going to change the culture, it's a short bit, a couple of bits of communication and you're away. No, it takes months and months to change a culture around the business, but it has to come from that level. And if it doesn't, you've lost it. And in terms of what's bad, I have seen people that can talk just because they can talk. And I switch off. And I can't be the only one that's switched off. And if you've lost half your board members, then you may as well cut the meeting short, and we've all got stuff to do, so let's just crack on and do it.
Yeah.
It tends not to be what happens, which is frustrating, and so those frustrations do happen.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. And when we're talking about businesses, and I'm a real business engineer too, right? So I know that the success or failure in a business will be in how the business functions are formed, for instance. So first thing I go for, bespokely, for a product, for a service, for a founder, for a mission, for the market, for instance. What do you say about that? What are the problems that you see that are in your work, as an engineer, that are make or break for a business?
Taking too long to make a decision. I think those are the things, and maybe that's because of the work that I've been involved with more, where it can be really fast moving, depending on who your clients are. And you've got to make a decision. Well, can we discuss it at the board meeting next month? No, can we make that decision now? Why do we need to wait for the board meeting?
Yeah, in a month, and we've lost. It's madness.
Let's have a 5-minute call, because that's really all it takes.
Yeah.
So that I can see, and then you've missed the ball. You've dropped it. The client's got hacked off. Yeah, client's got hacked off and left, or has done something
cat's
negative.
gone,
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to do it there and then. So for me, there is no point in putting things off on an agenda that can really be discussed. And also, so many people want to drag it down into the weeds, and you're thinking it doesn't need to be down here. The problem needs to be solved up here. So that's frustrating.
No, these are all good stuff, because it's the real stuff right here, right now. No frills, right? And that's what you need, because it's one thing to keep hitting walls and making all these mistakes, or it's so much more intelligent to learn from other people who have hit their walls and they're telling you what not to do, right? So this is the thing. So just tell us some of the projects just currently, what you're really suited to at Sandon Solutions, for instance. And that's integration and all stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of integrations going on, and there's a fine art to doing that. I think I've come to the conclusion. I've been through several of them. I did some work last year with Imperial College London on better understanding acquisitions. But essentially, I think people get so involved in buying another company out, and they forget there's people in both sides of the bottom of that are actually just worried about their salary. They've got bills to pay. We've all got bills to pay. None of us really work because we love it. But
some of us do.
That would be a nice place to be, but for most people, they're working because they've got bills.
On the clock. Yeah.
And therefore, they want to feel comfortable about what's going on in their business. So it's that's I think one of the biggest things that I find frustrating: the poor communication and poor program management as well. So if you're going to buy out, where do you want to be in a year? And how are you going to measure that? And then come back from that. And the other thing is the process and team efficiency. Perhaps one of my biggest things is we forget that we're dealing with a customer. Now that customer might be somebody in payroll, it might be somebody in the C-suite, or it might be a proper customer, as in a full fair paying one. What do they actually want, and what are you delivering? And just because you were delivering it 5 years ago doesn't mean it's any good to them now. But nobody goes back and questions that, or nobody listens to the people out in the front. Says, you know what, actually my client doesn't want this, they want something entirely different. But there's a disconnect somewhere in some businesses, and the client's not getting what they want. And I think for me that's the biggest frustration, because if you're working, imagine coming into work every day knowing that everything you do, or a lot of what you do, serves no purpose. How soul destroying is that?
That's disillusionment, and it's all about client quality and client conscientiousness. If they're not feeling the love, or they're not being serviced in the right way for what they need to attain for their business, their goals, their migration of things. That's very bad, right? That has no longevity. It's actually the opposite, Lisa. That I always say it is focusing on the customer, which is what we make sure that we do. What can we do better? What can we add? What can we enrich this experience with? What's the next thing in tech? What's I like to know that I'm seeing the horizon. I'm very good at this. Form what it's going to look like before it comes around the mountain in the morning. Because I want to be up there saying, all right, we have a strategy for that. How are we going to get the juice out of that? How do we capitalize on that so that translates to everyone? Which is the simple answer.
But it is, and there's that wonderful acronym, keep it simple, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, yeah.
And sometimes people try to complicate things and overcomplicate things. Now, listen, I don't doubt for 1 minute that in the finance area and the legal sector, there are convolutions that I can't even begin to comprehend, and I'm not dismissing that at all. But in general business, where you're dealing with a customer service and a service which is remote, things are far more simple than people give it credit for. And I think if you try and make it more complicated, you actually just bog people down. And also, don't forget that your clients may be somebody internal as well. And again, that disconnect happens, even in small companies, which I find incredible, but it does.
So look, when you're talking, I know you do a lot of work kind of with mergers and different stuff, and people, buyouts, acquisitions and stuff like that. You're kind of the transition there, the bridge builder, the clarifier, the packager and all this kind of stuff, the translator, right, of all of this stuff. Tell us some of the mistakes that you see there, some of the things not to do, and some of the things that have really helped this process to success for people who have bought businesses and are looking at buying businesses.
2 or 3 best things you could do is communicate, plan what you want and when you want it. And actually the antithesis of that is that's where it goes wrong, when they don't do it. And just remember that both sides of that acquired fence are feeling unsettled by what's just happened. Because, you know, people in finance, for example, know that there's a finance, the company that you just acquired has a finance section. Are they better than us? Have they got a better financial system than we have? Does that mean our jobs are out of sync? And I've heard all these conversations and nobody's talking to them from the top. So everybody's talking to each other and nothing good ever comes out of that. So it's, again, that's communication. Just make it clear. You've got to do it at different levels, and I get that, but it's not rocket science. And these are your people. These are now people of a bigger organisation. So assumedly that bigger organisation, and if you just bought one company, you may end up buying another one. So you double your turnover, then you might half that again, you know, or, you know, so it's, I don't necessarily think that people give it enough thought or give enough thought for the people. What I've heard over the years is, well, we don't need to tell people stuff. Yeah, you do.
You do.
You absolutely
say you frame
do.
Stuff.
Yeah.
The simple answer
Of course it is, yeah.
you say you frame stuff. You
Yeah.
don't have to give everyone song and verse.
No.
Neither should you, or neither is that helpful.
No.
But it's how you frame it.
Yeah,
And people need to be valued, Liz.
Absolutely.
They need to be heard, and they need to agree. You get these three things, you'll have no problems.
And having
you'll
a-
have a success out of it. You neglect them,
they walk.
it causes problems.
And they need
You
a
will-
channel to go through
Yeah.
in terms of, okay, I feel really unsettled about this. I feel uncomfortable. Who do I go and talk to? That channel needs to be clear to everybody so that everyone knows where they can go and get their question answered, and that it's confidential. And it doesn't need to be HR, it just needs to be a channel.
So, you know, it's really interesting. You know, one thing I'll put in there, you know, a bit of value, I'll see what your cut is on this as well, Lisa. I've learnt this on my own entrepreneurial job, because there's managerial, there's entrepreneurial, right? And you have to be really, if you're an entrepreneur, you'll understand that and be really good at how you structure your businesses with these different kinds of characters. For instance, just that. Of course, you've got the tool systems, you know, business structures, and exactly what you're saying about communication is, you know, it's absolutely key, and valuing people. But to come back from that, one of the things that I've really, really learned, and many old hands at this game who've kind of been around a bit, you know, and will say that, yeah, there's all the pragmatic, practical, clever kind of business learnings, if you want to put it like that. But, you know, and it's certainly true of me, and I know it's certainly been true of them, what they've said is where most of the business breakthroughs have come for them have been internal, as a person. Because really we are our own worst enemy, and it really is, well, one of the worst problems that I see, whether it's in a corporate structure, an entrepreneur, a founder, CEO, middle management, or whoever, is we can't get out of our own way. And that's the important thing here. And I've learned that. Again, it's very simple. What do you say about that?
There's another way of looking at it. You need to stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the same thing. And
Yeah.
I see people trying to get involved in things you
Yeah.
think this is only going to go one way and it's not going to be well.
Absolutely.
But when somebody senior gets in a lane that's not theirs, actually then the ramifications of that are further down the line is confusion, uncertainty. So there's even more confusion and uncertainty because somebody who shouldn't even be messing around with that has got involved in something that they shouldn't. And it doesn't happen all the time, not by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just some of the things that I've seen, as I'm sure you've seen it as well. But but I can't stress enough, the CEO is the person that sets the culture and sets this is where I want to be in a year, this is where I want to be in 2 years, and the board have to sit around there, and their every action, their every response to everything is all the culture that the rest of the business sees. So it's got to be visible. And if you've got somebody that's not doing that,
They're not doing his job.
they're not.
The
Well,
chief
yeah,
executive is not doing his job. That is his
Yeah.
job to
to make
lead
sure
in that
his
sense.
immediate team do it.
Yeah, I know every part of the operational
Yeah.
stuff cohesively.
With
you know,
respect, if you're the
together.
CEO of a
And what
business,
the roadmap of that is, right?
but if you've got a board of people around you, you don't need to know everything. You've got your board around you that know more, and that's fine. And they likewise have most likely got their teams that know more than they do. That's the way most organisations work, wrongly or rightly. And that's absolutely fine. But you've got to set it clearly from above so that everybody knows what's expected of them and that everybody understands the what's the word, what your 5-year plan is and your 10-year plan and what your vision is, and that every decision, and what's the point in having a vision if every decision you make goes against that vision? Because everyone's going, well, okay, well, I thought we were headed that way and now you've just made that decision. And if there's sometimes a scattergun approach to some things as well, that causes, I can't tell you how much confusion that causes to people further down the tree. But they are your business, and I find that very frustrating with some organisations.
No, it's so true. You know, and one thing I always remember is, look, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. It wasn't for certain stuff to be built and certain people at all different levels who are doing valuable parts of what you do. Just like we've all done it, we've had to do it all. It's not. I always say it's not. I'm going to do this, and I do what has to be done. You know, we do what has to be done. You know, and there is another part of it that's really important. I always say this. You know, I tell my children this as well. Is look, play your position. Don't try and play his and yours, and then the man down the roads, and then you think you'll play his. Play your position. Maybe that position will change. You'll play another position. But when you play that position, you play that position well. When everyone does that, we're onto something.
And it works.
And it works, doesn't it? Yeah. So that's a good one to say. So, look, thanks for these jewels. And it's short, it's sharp, it's punchy here. The content. That's what people want out there, right? You know, and. Of course, they like it sexy as well. They like it cool, and they like the real stuff. Pin it to the post, no messing around, right? You're definitely not a messing around person, which I like. Someone after my own heart, because it is about getting stuff done. Not as we're talking. We can talk if we need to talk, but I want it done, right? Show me what's the outcome, because our life force and our time is too important, right? Either we do it, we don't do it. You don't do it, you do it.
Most businesses now are tight on time and tight on resources for any number of reasons, and it doesn't really much matter. But personally, I should have more fluff. I'm not really a fluffy person. I'll come in, do it, and leave. It's
a good style. I like it, and you're in there doing all the real work that needs to be done, because this is what brings tangible things, right? So look, Sandon Solutions. Where are you going now? 2025. It's a massive year, right? I know it's been hard for some people out there. I really sympathise, but you know, for all this. But you've got to know that in chaos, there's great opportunity. Yeah. It's just you've got to set yourself. You've got to position yourself. You've got to be resilient. You've got to take the bull by the horns, as we always have to in life anyway. It's not a moaning thing or how bad it is, oh whoa thing. It's about how do we get around this, be around the right people, do what we need to do to get things forward, right? So, with that in mind, where are you going to be 2025? Who are you looking to work with? What kind of clients? What kind of industry? Because I know you're a very, very valuable addition to anyone who would work with you.
Well, thank you. In my ideal world, I would be working with cleaning and FM companies and councils, because that is where I've got my experience. I mean, that's a huge breadth of business, but also, if I'm blatantly honest, there are a lot of organisations, some I probably haven't even thought of, that said, you know what, Lisa, this just isn't working and we don't know why. Let's talk. Because if I can help, I will. And if I can't, then I'm not going to put myself up for something I can't do.
Yeah, that's great.
But those skills are transferable.
No, absolutely. And I know there's a lot of cool stuff that you're doing. I know we've been working today in the studio as well and doing some other stuff. There's some real gems. You know, what's this space? Where can people get a hold of you, Lisa? Just so we get that, and they can contact you, you know, for further information and stuff like that.
I know it'll all be on the end of the video anyway, but email or LinkedIn is probably the best way, or my website.
And there you go, the amazing Lisa Holmes. No nonsense, she's smiling, but she really is. She should be called the Iron Lady, you know. remember the Iron Lady? Margaret Thatcher was the last Iron Lady that I knew. Lisa Holmes is definitely today's Iron Lady, I'm telling you. Check her out.
Thank you
all
very
the
much.
great work that she does. She's a real star, real straight shooter, a real big addition to anyone's board, anyone's business, anyone buying, selling a business who needs to sell that river. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much,
Lisa. You know, and all the great work. I wish you very well. 2025. I know it's going to be massive for you. Thanks, guys, for joining into another segment where we get the world's best innovators, global business leaders. I'm Stephen Gillen, of course. I've got my own book out there, Extraordinary, The Search for a Life Worth Living, which is going to be a Netflix documentary soon. If you're interested in that, you can go Google me, of course, find out a little bit more about my darkness to light story and transformation. And of course, all this is in the betterment of everyone else out there. So I'm living history, and no matter how dark or how hard it may be, there was always another sunny day and always things that we can do better to change the narrative, be more, do more, become more. So lots of blessings to you. Look forward to seeing you again. Get in touch with us. Let us know if there's anything you want, any content you want us to shape for you, anyone particular you would like us to interview, any certain business, diverse industry you would want us to cover. So take care. God bless. See you next time.